Hello everybody out there in YouTube land. Hope you're doing good today. So I'm going to take a look at the Flintstones 2016 issue 2. So far there have been 11 issues released in this comic. I forgot to mention in the first one, these books are written by Mark Russell and they're drawn by Steve Pugh. And it first came out in June 6, 2016. So, moving on, one cool thing I've noticed with this run of comics so far, each issue has at least 2 variant covers, it seems like. This issue 2 has, looks like 2 variant. So it has the regular cover and a variant cover. So it's pretty cool. I think each issue has a variant. So starting out with the actual book, we're outside the Rubble house, hold, Barney Rubble and Betty Rubble, and outside there's a bully coming up to Bam Bam, and he says, "Hey kid, give me your money or I'll punch you in the beef." And the next panel we've got Bam Bam carrying the bully through the house, and Betty says, "Go play outside with your friend Bam Bam, the TV's about to come on." And Fred shows up and he says, "Oh, look out, a wall demon," because he doesn't know what the TV is. He's never seen it before. And Betty says, "No, it's television." And he asks what TV is, and well, Barney says it's like having the whole world right in your living room. Which, I don't know. I mean, I suppose it's how people felt about TV when it first came out. That's kind of how the internet is. You have the whole world at your fingertips, so to speak, as far as being able to find pretty much unlimited information and being able to communicate with people and stuff. But anyways, moving on, the guy on the TV says, "Good evening," and Fred says, "Hello," and Betty says, they can't hear you, it's a TV. So the guy starts talking on the TV, and he is a news reporter. He's the first, it's the first news broadcast ever, and their news story, this is old times, prehistoric times. But anyways, their first news story ever is about a guy whose head has been crushed by a giant boulder. And the guy goes and says, "Oh, well, we probably shouldn't have shown that to you in case there were kids watching, but now we know for next time," basically. And moving on, the each one of these comics, you'd think the Flintstones would just be kind of childish and, not have much going on, be slapstick, but each one of these has a theme. And the first one, if you saw my review, it was basically, the theme was about money and work and the value of that, and kind of business and how people are manipulated. It had a lot to say. And I had a whole side story about Wilma too, being an artist. These characters are deep, it's amazing. And anyways, so moving on, the main focus of this is basically like materialism and possessions and stuff. So you see them going to the Bedrock Mall, and everybody's into buying stuff, and the salesman sells Fred a Power Goat 3000, which is a weed eater, and he's never heard of a weed before. It's like there's no concept of gardening and stuff yet. Well, they actually garden, they grow food, but I mean, just weeding for aesthetics isn't a thing yet. And Pebbles is in the record store, of course. She's a teenager in this, I think, or close to that. She's like in middle school. In any case, she's into the new music, and Fred and Wilma go in and they're like, "Whoa, what is this crazy music?" So they're back home and they're playing with their new stuff. I won't show all these panels, but Fred's testing out the Power Goat. And it's really funny, how the Flintstones always have that animals and dinosaurs and stuff are all their appliances and things. So Wilma's got a giant octopus for her dishwasher, and Fred's got a Power Goat. So he uses his goat and mows the lawn. And then we get into the other theme of this comic, other than material possessions, and it's religion. So they're going to their church, and they're going in, and the priest is saying, "More bless you, more bless you, welcome everybody." And he's telling us the story of their history, basically. He said, when we were nomads Morp would lead us south for the winter and north again to cooler summer lands. He would stop at lakes and streams showing us where to slake our thirst. So basically, he's saying Morp is their god. And he's like, what other proof do you need? Well, my children, I went to the mall today, and well, this might be the most important event in the history of our religion. He uncovers it, and they say, oh, it's Morp. And it's actually their version of a record player. It's this bird, and he puts the beak on the record, and it starts playing that crazy music that they heard when Pebbles was in the record shop. And all the people seem to realize this because they all have blank, like, what expression, And it must be their pop music at the time. So they're all leaving, and the priest is like, Morp bless you. And Fred says, I don't know about you, but it's hard for me to take Morp seriously anymore. And Wilma says, yeah, it was fun while it lasted. So they kind of bludgeon religion a bit in this comic. Like, you'll see throughout each issue that religion is a big thing. And I'm not criticizing them for that, but I could see how some people would be critical of it because, they're basically saying their God is a lie. And I don't know where they're going to go with that, but we'll see in the future. It's really interesting in any case. And there's issues that cover religion even more in depth than this one. Anyways, so they're back home, and Wilma and Pebbles are going to go out shopping again, but he just stays home. He's tired of it. And he's hanging out. But there's nothing going on there, so he goes to the VFW, or the Veterans of Paleolithic Wars. And let's see, he's talking to Barney. Oh yeah, and he's saying he doesn't make enough working at the quarry to keep up with buying all this stuff. And he just does it to keep Wilma happy. He doesn't really like it. So this guy comes up, and he says, oh, I got a deal for you. Sell these vitamins for me. You'll make lots of money. So, of course, the joke there is they're Flintstones. They're literally the Flintstones, and they're selling vitamins. So, Flintstone vitamins, haha. It's pretty funny, I guess. And they're not really into it, but the guy kind of forces it on them, so they just go ahead and do it. And the next day it shows Barney and Fred going out to sell them. So, next page, we're back at the church, and now it's the Reformed Church of Animism, and before it was just the First Church of Animism. So the priest says, I apologize on behalf of Morp, and clearly he was a false god, but I think I found a nice new animal god you'll all really enjoy. His name is Peaches. Ah, the crowd likes it. And they say, what does Peaches want from us? And the priest says, oh, he just wants everyone to get along and have a good time. Oh, he sounds nice. So they're leaving, and they say, oh, I like worshiping Peaches. He's so cute. You guys going to go watch TV? No, I'm going to go to the mall. So the lower priest is talking to the other priest, and he's like, have a good time? What the hell is that? I might as well be a Unitarian. So that's pretty funny. Oh yeah, so I didn't show all these panels, but Fred is returning their garbage disposal, which is like a lizard, and they take it to the returns, and he returns it, and he says, I want to buy a bag of appliance food, because, they're all animals, and they take the lizard behind the curtain, basically, and they come out with a bag of just called assorted meat, so it's pretty clearly implied what happened, and they give the bag to him, and he goes home. And he said, church was amazing. I got a bag of meat. This may be a perfect Sunday. And she's like, Fred, we're worshiping a vacuum cleaner, because Peaches is just one of the little elephants that uses vacuum cleaners. So they're back at church again, and the church says, what else has been the teaches of Peaches? And the people are all angry. They're like, what are you trying to pull on us anyway? And the priest says, I know you're upset, but I was in a pinch anyway. Isn't that the important thing? That God makes you feel like your life has meaning. Does it matter what form a god takes? And Fred says, I don't know. Why don't I just ask my vacuum cleaner? So, basically they all walk out. They leave the church. They're just kind of fed up with it at this point. So the two priests are back at their place trying to figure out what they're going to do. What kind of god should we get? Should we get a dinosaur? And they're like, nah, we use those for machines. And they're like, a rabbit? And they're like, nah, people use those for neck pillows. Yeah, so the guy says, I'm coming up blank. And he's like, hey, I've got something. Exactly that. So, they show Peaches. They're using him as a vacuum. And then there's some pages of Fred's misadventures. He's trying to sell the vitamins. And it's not working out for him at all. And I actually included this page because I found it to be really funny. Fred's been failing at selling vitamins, and he's like, oh, I sold one. He does sell it to this couple. And then he's like, I bet Barney's having a hard time too. But Fred is just using his son here as a gimmick because Bam Bam's super strong. Then he's lifting a car, and Barney says, behold the power of Shamrock vitamins. So he's selling the vitamins to the people. And okay, we're about at the end here. So towards the end, they're back at the church yet again. And he's like, I got another god. This is the last god we'll ever need. And the lady's like, is it a cheetah? Because I've been down that road. I don't know what that means. It's a joke, I guess. So, and then he's like, no, it isn't an animal at all. And that's what's so great about it. And he takes the cloak off a chair. And he says, behold, the invisible god. And someone says, what's his name? And he's like, I hadn't really got that far. Let's just call him Gerald. So it's kind of wrapping up. And they're back with the vitamin seller guy. And, Barney gets a whole bunch of money and Fred doesn't get any. And Fred's upset not at Barney, but at the guy who had them selling vitamins. And he leaves, and he's like, vitamins are a scam, and he's all upset. He leaves. And he's basically upset because he can't afford to buy Wilma all the stuff she wants, or he thinks that she wants. And so that's what we see here in the last panel that I included. Is this comic, it's really sweet a lot of the time. Like the dynamic Wilma and Fred have, like they're real people. So she's like, what's the matter, Fred? And he's like, I'm sorry, Wilma, I thought I could do it. I thought I could make you happy, but I just can't afford all this crap. And she's like, oh, Fred, nothing we buy at the tar pit is going to make me happy. And he says, then what makes you happy? And she says, and it has a flashback to her childhood here in this panel, and it says, human beings are just walking accumulations of love and regret. The only thing that ever made me happy is being next to someone who loves me. So that's pretty cool. And, that's probably pretty reassuring for Fred to hear, too. Because he's such a strong character, but he does have some doubts. And you'll see, he's afraid of Wilma leaving him. Which I don't think is a fear he needs to have. But it just shows his character, his own lack of confidence, even though he's really strong. And a cool guy, I think. So anyways, that's the review of number 2. We'll get number 3 up soon. I'm going to be doing the Batman Shadow crossover from DC Comics and Dynamite Comics. That's a 1 through 6 story. Right now I just have issue 1, but I'll go ahead and do the review of issue 1. The cover looks really amazing. Okay, that's it. And as always, please like, subscribe, and share these videos. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.